This is guys' houses. They lived there forever, maybe. They lived there for fucking 10 years. Guys want the same thing we all want. We just want respect. And that means you don't got to, eyeball guys and look at them and check them out. Man, the guy's benching 400. Oh, man, I ain't nothing. I can take him. All that nonsense. And I had a lot of jailhouse friends who, got life and tough guys. And I used to warn them, man, don't gamble with this dude. He's just getting slick with his mouth. He plays with you too much, and you're going to end up doing something because he's too stupid to understand. He's out of his league. I had another friend of mine, Butch. He was from Philadelphia. He was a lifer, beat the case. He was on death row. Came back, hit the street, went back, had a problem with a guy while he's playing pool. I kept telling him, stop playing pool with the guy. The guy doesn't understand his place with you. He's a young guy. He just don't get it. He looks at you as an old guy, man, that just ain't, you're finished. I said, he didn't listen. And, well, one day I'm out in the yard, man. He opened him up good, almost killed him. So, and I looked at him and I just shook my head because they were taking him to the bucket. He was going to the hole, and I'm thinking, man, you're never going to come home, man. This guy dies, you're done. But I warned him because there's etiquette that we already know in there. There's certain things we know about jail, and it just all goes back to the same thing, respect, and respect each guy.
Just respect each guy and know how to move, mind your business, don't gamble, don't do anything, how to keep yourself clean, and you should be good. So you were part of the Gambino crime family and, of course, under Gotti. Do you remember the first time you met John Gotti? What was that experience like? Because we all know John Gotti is like that guy or whatever. I want to know from your viewpoint.
See, people know Gotti because the media put him out there. But I was around Andy Ruggiano first. And guys that don't know who Fat Andy Ruggiano is, I'm still very friendly with his sons, Anthony and Albert. He was the Hall of Famer of gangsters. He was the guy that was made by Albert Anastasia and Murder Inc. So if you look up this guy Gotti and all these other guys, Nicky Carrara, all of them were around Fat Andy. He's the guy that raised all these guys in the mob in the street. He was the gangsters. So I was around that family since I'm literally 7 years old. So, being around him, he taught me, and his sons, who are humble guys, taught me, how to behave in the street. Guy like him and Lucky Luciano, everybody knows that name from the movies. Mm-hmm. His first cousin was Blackie, Charlie Luciano, same name. It was my uncle and father's partner. So I've been around him since I'm 5 years old. So I had lessons in the Italian Mafia since I'm a baby. So it wasn't like I stepped into Gotti and that's my lesson in the mob world. I was around another guy, Louis Gatti, and his brother, so George Gatti. These guys were Lucchese guys, serious guys. I was raised around all these guys. So when I do meet Gotti, I look up to him. I'm a young kid. I'm about 18 years old. He's, he comes off like a real hood street guy. He's from Brownsville. He is a street guy. He went to the same school as me, Lane High School in Brooklyn. We went to the same schools. He was from Jamaica Avenue up in that area, but, further down in Brownsville. So I had a lot in common with the guy, and I looked at him, and he had a rough life growing up just like me. So I looked up to him as a father figure. Besides my father was a street guy, but he wasn't a killer. He was a gambler. He was a cab driver. He was around mobsters, a fighter, just street. But Gotti took it to a different level with me. And Fat Andy goes to prison. Gotti steps in position. And obviously, by the way I lived, right? And guys that know me, I was willing to do anything for the guy. I was a young guy. I was willing to kill anything he told me to kill. Hurt anything he told me to hurt. Gene Foster's on the beach. I'm stabbed up. I got 120 stitches in my chest. He told me go on that beach and pipe the shit out of this guy in the middle of the day in front of a whole beach. I went down there. All I had to do was get punched in the stomach. I would have died of internal bleeding. I just got out of the hospital and being stabbed up. But I wanted to be a soldier to that man. So he told me do it. I did it. I went down there and piped the shit out of the guy in front of the whole beach, pulled out a Derringer from my jock strap, 2-shot shotgun Derringer. I held the beach off. Guys wanted to talk shit. I was willing. See, the thing is, people got to understand. When you're a real warrior, and I said it the other day on that I Got You 6, in my mind, I was willing to kill that guy to show Gotti I'd kill him even if I had to lose my life. I was willing to kill a lot of guys and sacrifice my life because I really believed in the life to that extent. So when people are telling me and they're talking to me when I got betrayed, they ain't got a clue what it is to do what I did, to stick a knife up your ass. I was supposed to do a video with Casanova, and he was talking about prison, and he bootied a blade up his ass. And somebody asked him, and they asked him and he said it again, just like I said. You know what? When you're from the street, you know what you got to do to survive. They ain't no, I ain't doing this, I ain't doing that. That's for suckers.
Yeah, do what you got to do.
Really. You do what you got to do. So, I got respect for street guys, but I ain't a Jehovah's Witness. And I tell people all the time, they might not like my message because I'm talking pro-America, pro-police when it's not popular to say it. But the reason why I say it is because I'm trying to save kids' lives, man. I ain't trying to teach them how to be killers, how to live on the street as gangsters. I don't want that for them. I want them to have a better life that we didn't have. So, my objective is I don't give a shit what color you are. If you're from the inner cities, I can feel you because I know what it is to be there. I know what it is to be involved and look down sometimes, and some people are racist. But the real world, nothing's perfect, man. And as long as I thought I was a victim, or if anybody thinks they're a victim, they're never going to get out of that victim status. So, and violence, honestly, ain't the answer. Because I tried it. Ain't nobody going to try more violence than me. If you can find a guy that could tell me they did more than me and bullshit along and come in with my record, just what you said, because Scoop, I'll sit any day with you and I'll start giving you name by name by name by name, just what I've done before. And I'll check these dudes if I did it. Because I baseball batted 3 guys in Princeton on Route 1. A guy was about, 300-something pounds. And, I'll tell you the girl that was with me, Lisa Matrisiak. She was with me. Her best friend married a skipper in the Philadelphia mob. And, he's around still. So it's very easy to check. Is this guy full of shit? And Princeton ain't no Brownsville or Jamaica Avenue. It's really a soft neighborhood. It was just unfortunate that I ran into 3 guys that I had to hurt. And, so when I got to hurt somebody, I get into that mode and I hurt them. I'm not with 3 guys. I'm by myself. So when I tell guys, hey, man, I stabbed a guy through his throat in Fort Lauderdale when he was with 3 other guys, and he was every bit of 350. Vinny Butch Corralo was there. Another guy that was a wise guy through his father that was around John Gotti. These guys are there when I'm doing this. This ain't like, make-believe, man. So I'll name everybody that's in these bars, in these locations while I'm stabbing guys and while I'm shooting guys. I'm very open about it because I don't want to see these young guys follow this. It ain't nothing about bragging about it. I ruined my life by doing it. And I'm an older guy now.
I have a question for you. You said on many interviews, and this is 2 questions because you just touched on 2 topics. You said in many interviews that none of the Gotti guys ever had guns or used guns or were about the street or killers. How did the Gotti family exert that much fear without being tough?
I'm going to tell you
just the mention of the name will have you like, whoa.
Well, Scoop, because when Gotti sends somebody like me to do all this, sure, he got the name because Gotti sent me. So, is Gotti going out there pulling that trigger? Of course not. Here's the thing. Pete Gotti, I'm going to use Pete Gotti as an example. He was a sanitation man. He was retired. He's John Gotti Sr.'s brother. I like Pete. Honestly, I like the guy. He was a harmless guy. He became an acting boss of the Gambino family. The guy never set off a firecracker. So you're an acting boss because of your brother, nepotism. Your brother's in jail. You're being protected from your brother who's in prison. Anybody that goes near Pete or disrespects him from jail, John had the power, without a doubt, to call a guy, doesn't matter if it's me or somebody else, and go kill that motherfucker who just disrespected my brother. So that's how you get the power with that name. So every time I'm shooting somebody, stabbing somebody, baseball batting somebody, it's on his flag. It ain't on, somebody else's flag. So, of course, he's going to get the name. But here's what the kids don't know. Gotti's daughter has a brother-in-law, Peter. He was a witness in the 80s on a murder. Peter's a rat. Louis Albano's brother-in-law married his sister. He's a rat. John DeGiorgio, Gotti's first cousin. He's a rat in Fort Lauderdale on a drug case. Right? So that's 2. Angel Gotti ratted on her husband for hitting her. And John Gotti from jail on video called her a rat. Vicky Gotti's 3 sons got beat up in a mall, and she had the guy locked up in the mall when he beat up 3 sons bothering a girl. So she ratted. John Gotti Jr., he's a rat, right? So, every one of these guys and this legendary fake bullshit, kids really don't know because they don't know what I know. They don't know the intricacies of the mob. Carmine Agnello had a 16-count indictment in Cleveland. They locked the courtroom down and disappeared. His brother-in-law. You guys or anybody from the street knows that don't happen, and they don't lock a courtroom down unless you snitch. And he had John Hamburger under his payroll forever. He was buying him cars and giving him shit. He was feeding him information. I mean, listen, this is the real of the street, and this is what I'm trying to tell kids. Don't buy into this. Linda Gotti, Pete Gotti, the boss, his daughter, testified at a grand jury and got Bobby Glasses locked up for a double homicide on 86th Street, Jamaica Avenue. The people don't know all this, right? So I'm giving you the whole Gotti family's ratting. The whole Gotti family's cooperate. One way or another, they're all talking. So they can live off that bullshit, but they're selling a dream to these young kids. And these young kids are buying into that nonsense. And that's what I'm stopping. I'm stopping for them to believe the same Kool-Aid I was drinking, that I left my own children and I lived in a penitentiary sticking knives up my ass while Gotti's meeting the FBI. Now, if anybody's a gangster, they know he's a rat. They know he's a snitch. They can use any word they want. And here's the thing, I don't give a fuck anymore. I tell everybody, but they're not going to switch my legacy, my name, my reputation on what they did. They're not switching it on me, because I kept it real the whole way through. I lost $35 million. I lost my children. I didn't see anybody. I stayed in these jails for 18 years on all my cases. So when people say, it was this guy, no, man, I wasn't weak. It didn't go that way. So, and if they want to switch that around, I'll sit with anybody and tell me, you tell me what it is, man. They gave me up. They were already meeting the feds. I ain't owe them nothing. None of them. And you know what? I don't want no other young kid buying and drinking that Kool-Aid like I did. I was willing to give my life up for this nonsense. So what I'm trying to tell a kid, man, don't go to jail and clean dishes. Don't go to jail and wipe those floors. Don't go to jail and clean toilets, man. Get a job out here. Have a good life.
That's where you're heading. You said that you lost $35 million. You must have had a hell of a lot of businesses. How many of those businesses did you set up and start yourself, or did you just go in and take somebody's business from them?
No, I had the hottest black nightclub in Tampa, Florida. Anybody that knows my club, the Tampa Bay Bucks, was down the block. They hung out my club every weekend. So I would make $3-4 million a year off my club. It was called Moet's. Then I switched to Mirage. I put $500,000 back in, I guess the late 90s. A bag full of money. I told a guy, come see me open up a club. I knew the club business. Before that, I had a club called Stampedes. It was a country, western club. Before that, I had 2 clubs, American Cowboy. Before that, I had an after hours near South Jamaica where the cop got shot. One of my guys, and actually 2 of my guys, they shot a cop, off-duty cop. The guy did the right thing. I paid him off $60,000. And one of my distant cousins didn't give him the $60,000. I ended up shooting him. Another guy, Nicky Pasquale. So I shot him 4 times. So, and I shot him July 3rd. So anybody that says what you say, I talk straight. 85th Street, July 3rd, 2000. I think it was, 1995 on 85th Street, right off Jamaica Avenue. I went to his house, brought him downstairs, and I shot the shit out of him. So, when someone's talking about, what I did.
Your whole family?
Shot him right there, right on the steps.
Wait, hold on, John. You brought your own family downstairs, brought him downstairs, and shot that man.
Betrayed me? Yeah, I shot him. He betrayed me. He thought Gotti was going to protect him, and he found out the hard way he wasn't protecting me. Stevie Nicks did a show with me, and I shot him.
To his mother after that? What do you say to his mother?
Never. Here's what I told him. You want to be a gangster? You want to be on the street?
Gangster.
You around me, man. I gave you money to open after hours. I gave you money for the drug business. I gave you money for the machine business. I gave you money to pull tickets off a Ticketron. I gave you the connections. When I go to jail and Gotti tells you you answer to me for the rest of your life, I don't give a fuck who Gotti or anybody else is. You're around me. And if you're stupid enough, and here's my biggest line I used to tell everybody. Man, listen, after I kill you, beat you, shoot you, or whatever I do with you, I'll worry about my problem, whatever gangster you think you're going to get protection from. Because once I'm finished with you, it don't matter what happens with me with them. But I'm going to tell you something, Albanian. And there's a song out, a rap song about me, Albanian blood. And the gist of the song is, in other words, I'm too proud to let anybody tell me anything different. When someone's around me, they're around me. When I'm good to them, they better be good back to me. If they're not good to me, they're my enemy. So when he tried to betray me, he's lucky I didn't shoot him in the head, really. He's walking around with fake legs or some shit. He's got those fake legs he's got to put on. He ends up living, but he ain't never going to forget that he betrayed me. So just like the guy, Mike Lavigny, I shot him in the chest. He testified against me 25 years later. Listen, some guys I feel bad about shooting, but he's one of the guys. Honestly, I got to be as real as possible. I really don't feel bad about shooting him because he slapped an innocent guy, a doctor, in the face, was going on a medical emergency. And, when I tried to talk to him, and he knew he was supposed to get hurt by us. So, there's situations I took care of guys, or, when I shot 4 guys at the nightclub, that was over unionizing bouncers, because we were forcing guys to come into us. And so they couldn't work on their own without going through us like a union. So, certain these guys, now I warn those guys too. Don't go to work. Whoever goes to work, I'm going to come see this week. So, I named 8 nightclubs. Don't go to them. If you go, I don't care who's telling you. And somebody gave them false confidence they can go from another crime family. And, it's on them once they do that. So that was my life. Now, I'm not saying I don't feel bad for some of these guys for being stupid, but it was part of what we did for a living. That's what we did. And that was my job. My job was to go out and shoot and stab and hurt guys. So, I had a drug spot on 101st Avenue. And, me and Gotti were partners on the spot. I came there with a 22 Ruger, 50-shot clip on 116th Street, 101st Avenue. I shot Mike Pip, that's his name, so people know. And I shot 2 other guys, I don't know who they were. And I let the one guy I let go, actually, because I knew his brother.
You let a guy?
I gave him a pass.
Why you let the guy go? Why not shoot him?
But the guys that were with me in that car, right? One of them, his statue's over. Tony Kelly was my driver. His brother later on, John Kelly, became a rat on me in 1994. When I got beat up by the cops, he's the one that called the cops on me. And, he's been an informant for years. But, guys, what's funny? Their family members are out there talking shit. And meanwhile, you got your brother, your uncle and brother, whatever they are rats. And I like Tony Kelly, but his brother's been an informant for years. So you got these situations with these guys that never did nothing in their life, but they talk a good game. So that's why I don't respect them. And then you hear me talking against my enemies like Cookie Torso and Anthony Tabita and these guys. Well, this guy Frankie I just saw in Virginia. These guys were my enemy, guys that were trying to kill me on a regular basis. So, there was a serious plot. And I'm not talking about guys just talking shit. These guys killed a lot of guys. These guys were get down guys.
Are you friends with any guys who ever tried to kill you? Like guys that tried to lay you down? Have you buried the hatchet and y'all cool with each other? How does that work?
I just named those guys. I just was in Virginia with one of them. Right. I was with him for the last 3 days. I was with Cookie Torso. He was one of the guys. These guys these guys killed, I think, 7 or 10 guys combined. These guys were on America's Most Wanted. These guys weren't no joke guys, man. These guys were serious. Cookie got shot in the head and the neck, too. He got down, too. These ain't guys that were just, he could have been a boss of the Genovese family. These ain't like, these fake small-time hoods that are out here now. Because in our generation, you're talking about the 80s, 90s, killing was crazy, shooting was crazy. These guys ain't getting down like that. And don't get me wrong, there's a handful of fucking killers out there. There's always going to be some serious guys out there. But the guys that are smart are the guys that last out there. My problem was Gotti's put me out there so much that the whole world knew about me because I was shooting and killing a baseball bat and stabbing everybody. And for people that don't know the history of this, go get his trial minutes when I go testify against him and I call him Whitey Bulger for being a betrayer and a rat. But his whole testimony, his whole defense is I'm too dangerous and wild for anybody to control. That was his testimony, and that he quit the mob because he cooperated. So that was his defense. But I really don't care what his defense was. I care that I love the father. I was loyal to the father. And the family's full of shit. And now they talk all that shit. But if anybody listens to Gotti Sr.'s tapes, they didn't even bother with the guy when he was in jail. They didn't even try to help the guy, but they want to live off his legacy. The guy was real, at least. I tell the truth, man. The guy wasn't a shooter per se himself, but he was a tough guy. He was a gangster. He wasn't out there using that gun. He didn't kill anybody, actually. But, he knew how to maneuver guys. He knew how to run guys. He had a charisma, and he was a gangster. Now, the rest of the family, honestly, weren't gangsters. So, call it real. But I loved the guy, and I respected him, and I looked up to him, where I was willing to lose my life from. So that's how much he had an influence on me. When people saying, the kid is just a spoiled kid, like I always say, brat. The guy, if anybody goes to my Wikipedia, go read my Wikipedia. You know about this stuff. Go take down informant, because I'd never been informant in my life. My lawyer was Richie Raybach, same lawyer John Gotti Sr. used. I used him my whole life until I went to jail in 2000. So if I was an informant, he would know about it. I had Mike Pinsky, who was a Philadelphia boss's a lawyer. I kept him too. I kept mob lawyers my whole life. So if you try to take informant down off my Wikipedia, you can't get it down because they own it. The Gottis control it. So they want to put a false narrative out there. They touched my Instagram. I had 300,000 files. This is like, punk shit, Girl Scout shit. This is, but I don't even pay attention to it. Honestly, I just leave it alone. I don't give a fuck. But, real men, forget about gangsters. Who the fuck does this stuff? You got a page up called They Like Facts. I mean, what kind of bitch are you? You trying to kill your father's legacy? You're doing a good job of it. So, I ain't got